There are millions of people
Yeah.
that we may never reach with our traditional evangelistic methods. And why does a person who you meet at a gym, who finds Jesus at a gym, have to be transitioned to a traditional church? Whenever you have a building, the building becomes the center of the church. Your finances are centered around the building.
Yeah.
If you don't have this physical structure, your finances are centered around people and centered around the people you're trying to reach.
Welcome back to Ministry Reimagined. This episode was interesting because it's not every day when you get to talk to somebody involved in both ministry and business and learn that the two can coincide together and still be biblical, and learn about centers of influence and what that even means and what that looks like. Stay tuned. I am so excited because we met recently, sometime in March, at a church planting conference, and I'm not a church planter, if you guys haven't guessed, but I was there to learn. And I remember you spoke a couple times about, even you're going to bring it up later, but even just how you incorporate business and ministry. And it was interesting. So I'm excited.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to talk with you. This, centers of influence is what we were talking about at the conference. It was a part of it. I am from the North American Division Evangelism Institute, and our mission is to equip leaders with the Seventh-day Adventist message of wholeness, and to send them out to be able to minister to people in the North American Division, and also support, train, mentor, and equip pastors in North American Division. So, so church planting, church evangelization, community engagement, church growth, and centers of influence is sort of a appendix of that, is sort of in the periphery of that, and it's a new thing. It's not a new thing in its concept, but it's new in the way that we're trying to revive it. So that was why I was making those presentations on centers of influence, is because it's something that Ellen White gave us a vision for 125 years, but we've just simply been admiring her vision without putting together the systems to deliver it. So.
Wow. I love that because I think church can often just become a routine and something that people just do every single day and not worry about making it better and growing it even more and even planting more. So I think it's really cool, everything that you guys are doing. How did you kind of get into that? Was that always like a passion that you had it, or how did it grow, I guess?
I'm kind of a dual mission person.
Okay.
I've always straddled the line between business and ministry. I've worked at 2 Fortune 500 companies, one of them in management. And so I always saw when I came into ministry that business principles is one of the best ways to execute good biblical principles. So it's always been a highlight of my ministry. There's always been elements of business that I have incorporated into my ministry skill set. So whenever I got into the church planting space, I recognized that traditional church plants really focus on reaching a certain segment of the population. And the culture of the society and the culture of the traditional church community are widening. And so when people come into the church, they have to navigate two things. They have to navigate first their relationship with Christ, and in the Seventh-day Adventist context. And as you know, that if you're not around the Seventh-day Adventist context, that requires some level of changes to be made. Also, that they have to navigate church culture. And because society's culture and the traditional church culture are widening, sometimes they can navigate their relationship with Christ pretty well, but they can't navigate the church space, the culture of the church. And so centers of influence give us an opportunity to create traffic, and also give us an opportunity to, in that traffic, have spiritual conversations and get to know people, and use Ellen White's Ministry of Healing, page 143, and actually go through the first 4 steps before we ask people, to invite people to come into the church. So in my definition, the center of influence is a space, it's a commercial space, where people who want to preach the gospel are connected with people who may want to hear the gospel. And so that's what a center of influence is. It's a dual mission enterprise. It's a social enterprise. Oftentimes people think that that business and ministry are mutually exclusive, and that we either should run a nonprofit organization that is clearly centered on executing a social mission, or we run a business where the business's purpose is to create value for shareholders. Well, a social enterprise or a dual mission enterprise, both of them are their mission. And there's an integrated social enterprise where the people that you are operating in a commercial sense with are also the people that you want to you want to execute social mission. And then there's a differentiated where the commercial supports the social mission. It's a newer form of enterprise that has been around fairly recently, but it's not really something that's known. It's not been executed, and the knowledge of a dual mission, a dual functioning enterprise is not really widely known.
Yeah. So you've studied this, you've researched this, you're very educated in this, but can we dumb it down in a way of what are some examples of?
Example of a center of influence could be a cafe. A cafe where you sell coffee, you sell smoothies, other drinks, and the people come into the cafe and they, like they're at Starbucks or any other cafe, they're working on their computers, and there are people who are trained in ministry and Ellen White's Christ method alone. They're engaging them spiritually. They're building relationships. They're meeting their needs. They're gaining their trust. And those people that are coming to that coffee shop, eventually Bible studies may occur. But before that, we're sharing a drink together. We may start to interact with each other outside of the coffee shop. We may decide to go walking together. We may decide to watch a game together. We may decide to go on a trip together. We become friends. We become people who want to be in each other's company. And that eventually leads to a discipleship type of relationship. That's a friendship, but it's also a discipleship type of relationship. It is organically reaching out to people in the normal course of their life and developing a spiritual relationship and a basic friendship. So a center of influence allows people who want to preach the gospel to engage people in the normal traffic of their lives. And, evangelistic series, it's not the normal traffic of people's lives. There's an advertisement that's been sent out. There's a actual invitation that's made. It's almost an interruption to the normal course of their life. That's fine. It's nothing wrong with that. But in a center of influence, you are trying to create a business that would be financially viable in that community, that would develop traffic. And in the developing of that traffic and in people doing the natural course of what they would normally do, spiritual conversations happen. People become friends. They become tied to each other. And then the process of the discipleship takes form.
Interesting. I do want to ask, because I know you've had experience in both, in evangelism and centers of influence. Which one would you say is more effective?
It's not whether one is more effective than the other. It is one of my colleagues says it's not about whether something is more effective. It's the practitioner has to contextualize what's done. That's Dr. Emil Peeler, who's now the chair of the religion department at Oakwood. He talks about contextualization. And so traditional evangelism is very effective, but it needs to be contextualized to the group of people I'm targeting. Centers of influence are very effective, but they have to be contextualized. And contextualization requires you to study the target group of people, both qualitatively, in relationship building, and quantitatively, numbers-wise, aggregating statistics. Advertisers aggregate our data every moment of the day, which is why they're so good at separating us from our money. because,
Okay.
they're aggregating our data,
Yeah.
which we give them. And, the Bible says that the children of this world are wiser than the children of God, in the sense that retailers and advertisers know how to aggregate our data and come to a solution as to what we might want. And they're able to advertise to us and to sell to us. And they're largely successful. Well, the church should be doing the same thing. Not in the same way, but we should be studying people to understand their real needs and interacting with them based upon their real needs, and not interrupting their life with an agenda that is cast toward them, but come to them with an ability to meet their needs.
Interesting. Yeah. I want to ask in just the aspect of a cafe, because I've heard this idea a couple times, but is it the same as just having a coffee shop and having a couple Bible verses on the wall and playing Christian music, or is it different in a way that it's more...
In a center of influence, but we can talk about centers of influence as they are, or we can talk about centers of influence as my research and my experience wants them to be.
That.
Okay, so in a center of influence, that I believe it would be the most effective. But let's just back up just a minute.
Yeah.
Centers of influence in Adventism have an execution problem, and the execution is that often centers of influence are very good at the enterprise, the business, and they're not very good then at the missional part, or they're outstanding in the missional part, and they're not really good making money. The enterprise is suffering, and they're still depending on subsidies and donations. And so I posit that the franchise model is a viable solution to that, because centers of influence are dual mission enterprises. They're hybrid enterprises, meaning they have both a commercial mission and they have a social mission. And so here's how centers of influence would work from the standpoint that I'm thinking about. You have a gym. And the gym, because of memberships, provides a steady traffic of people. Yeah. And one of the most important things in ministry that we underestimate is having a continual traffic of people. If you buy a membership to a gym, you're going to talk to the same people every week, because they have an incentive to come back for several days in a week and each week. So you have a gym. You don't have to put up spiritual text or play Christian music per se. You have a gym that is modeled in a way that it becomes financially viable, that it makes money, that it employs people. So you're not trying to have a gym that doesn't matter whether it makes money, just, hey, we got the gym because we want to reach people. No, you create a gym that is commercially viable. And the franchise model has in place the brand recognition. It has in place the structure of the gym. It has in place the profit model. All of those things are in place. So someone who doesn't have experience in running a business, if they are trained on how to run a franchise, the model for being financially viable is in the franchise documents, it's in the franchise training, it's in the franchise branding, it's in their modeling, because all of that's been test marketed. So then, the ministry side. Well, we have in North American division and all over the world this system called ACTS. And ACTS is assessment, coaching, training, and sending. And it is the apprenticeship, the cohort model that we have to teach pastors and also lay people how to plant churches. So you merge the two. You have a team of people, and you train that team of people both in the commercial mission, how to run a successful gym that is meeting its metrics financially and making a profit. And how do you plant a church in that gym that is also missional? And so it's a dual mission enterprise. one is not above the other. One doesn't just feed into the other.
Yeah.
The same people who are going to the gym that you're serving commercially are the same people that you want to share the gospel with. So it's an integrated hybrid.
Right.
So the franchise model helps you to put in the type of governance that you need to make sure you don't have what's called mission drift, where you drift to one side or the other, where you make decisions for the business to be more profitable,
Right.
and it hurts the ministry side.
Right.
Or you make decisions to that are missionally purposeful and make you missionally successful, but they hurt the enterprise. There's always going to be a tension. It's supposed to be a tension. The tension helps you to continue to talk about it, to continue to work on it.
Yeah.
Once you solve the tension, you are in drift. Once you say that we're a coffee shop that also reaches out to people spiritually,
Yeah.
you've already decided that the commercial end is more important.
Yeah.
Once you say that we are a ministry that sells smoothies, you've already decided that the mission part of the enterprise is more important than the commercial. In a dual mission enterprise, there's always a tension. And good governance and how you hire and train people is a couple of the ways that you manage that tension.
Interesting. I guess one of my questions is for it, how would it look like if you do have a gym? You said with branding, with once people start going, they'll start knowing, oh, this brand is, dual. But what would it look like to make it dual? Like in the gym, would it have like special programs? Would it have like Bible studies in the gym, or?
That's based upon the context of the people that you're trying to reach. So it was going to have all of the services that any gym would have. Okay, all the services. You have personal trainers. You're gonna have a manager. You have somebody at the front that checks you in. You scan your gym membership. You go. You take your spinning class or your whatever you want to do. Athletes for high school or college, maybe even pro, could come in and train. So it has a full plate of services that any gym would have. The mission part of it, the ministry part of it, doesn't have to actually be on Front Street from day to day. So what happens is that you are working out in the gym or and you get in a conversation and you start to develop a friendship. The gym may have small group meetings on Tuesday nights in a space in the gym. And some people are out in the gym working out. Other people are in another part of the gym in a small group. And they're sharing a Bible text and they're talking about it and and so those things happen organically. One space doesn't interfere with the other space. And so in ministry, what you do is to plant a church, you form a core team. A core team has a particular mission, a particular vision, and they have core values about how they accomplish that. So the person who's the planter is tapping the foot traffic from the gym and maybe some other people who share that mission and that vision, and they are growing that small team of people through the traffic of the people coming to the gym, because those are the people that they're targeting. And as they grow that group core team, they launch a church. Now, there's a lot that needs to happen in the middle of that I'm not, you have to get into the community, study your community, get into your community, create an identity based upon the needs of the community, have a discipleship pathway. All of those different things have to be in place. So then on Sabbath, there's a space in the gym where people are having their corporate worship. While there may still be people, if it's a 24-hour gym, that are working out. One doesn't really create an issue for the other. So that's how that would work conceptually. But dual mission businesses have been around for a long time. There's a business called DDD. DDD, and they're in Asia. I forget the country, but their mission is to help people, poor people, I think it's in Thailand or Cambodia, learn IT skills.
Okay.
And so what they did was they brought them off the street or out of their poor communities, taught them IT skills, and then they contracted with other corporations who needed those IT skills. And they built that up. And so the people who learned the skills were also those who participated in the commercial function. Again, Warby Parker, they want to sell glasses. But every pair of glasses that they sell, they partnered with another organization to give a pair of glasses away. So the people that they're selling the glasses to are also, targeting groups of people who need glasses. So there are a lot of dual mission businesses who are out there.
Yeah.
Seventh-day Adventist Centers of Influence would be considered an integrated hybrid dual mission business. But gyms, restaurants, they would definitely be things. I mean, I even thought about a hedge fund, to reach our Joseph of Arimatheas, the people who are the 1%.
Yeah.
That would, you could have a hedge fund and you have a small group, So I think that we have to really think outside the box as it relates to how to reach people. There are millions of people that we may never reach with our traditional evangelistic methods. And why does a person who you meet at a gym, who finds Jesus at a gym, have to be transitioned to a traditional church? Why can't their church be the gym?
Interesting. Instead of like an actual building,
Yes.
it's more of the community. That's good.
Yeah. Whenever you have a building, the building becomes the center of the church. Your finances are centered around the building.
Yeah.
If you don't have this physical structure, your finances are centered around people and centered around the people you're trying to reach. So yeah, I mean, the church is the gym, and there's a space to worship corporately. There's also a space to do ministry. If there's a church in a gym, there could be a summer exercise programs. You could have summer feeding programs where children who are not able to get lunch or supper can come and get that, and they could partner with other social agencies to do that. So there are a lot of different ministries that a gym could do, a church out of a gym could do, that would be effective and would be more in line with what gyms do as it relates to health. So yeah.
So you're incorporating the health message in there too. That's
Yes,
good, yeah.
yes. The part of the gym is incorporating the Adventist health message in a way that is not overt. So, when you go to the gym, you're going to sell the full palette of the type of bars or smoothies or whatever that people in the gym want. You're not going to go in and say, well, everything has to be vegan or this, that, because you want to meet people where they are and provide things within the context that we can provide them that people want. So you want to be able to provide a space, a gym, where someone who just wants to come in and work out and get a smoothie and get a personal trainer and get a class can do that and leave and not be overtly invaded by religious and spiritual things that they don't want. We believe over the course of being a member of this gym for a year or year and a half or 2 years, something in your life will happen. There will be a personal crisis. There will be a person that has an interesting conversation with you. And we believe that the Holy Spirit will take control and draw people. But we don't want to overtly say to people that being in this gym, that you are going to be intentionally exposed to religious and spiritual things that you don't want. So a person can go to the gym, take a shower and leave.
Yeah.
Don't have to see a text on the wall and
Fair,
hear the Christian music in the back.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Just come in and work out and leave if you want.
Yeah. Interesting. I want to ask, and I feel like I already know your answer to this, but I had a conversation where I was talking to somebody about mixing church and business and how it's not biblical to do both at the same time. It's either a church or a business. So I'm curious.
Oftentimes, those kind of things are said because people think about enterprises in two different ways. There's the nonprofit sector, which has a social mission. There's a for-profit sector that says the purpose of an enterprise, a corporation, is to create value for shareholders. So those two, and we call that in the research logics. So you have a missional logic in a nonprofit, you have a financial logic in a corporation, and they are mutually exclusive. But there is another form of enterprise called a dual mission enterprise. And it uses the commercial aspect to fulfill the missional aspect. So here's the thing. Nonprofits have to rely on donations and grants to fulfill their mission because they don't have any other way to fulfill that mission. So they're steadily having to raise donations, they're steadily having to write grants. In a corporation, if they want to do something missional, they take a portion of their profits and they do that. Well, in a dual mission setting, you take the profits from the commercial and you fulfill the social. So I don't see anything unbiblical about it. It's just that because of our thinking, our dual thinking, our two-dimensional thinking, we've never experienced business and ministry being melded together. But there are a lot of corporations that attempted to do that. Now, some have done that. Some have failed at. I think OpenAI is an example of a corporation that started with a dual mission, purpose. OpenAI was, the ethical use of general artificial intelligence. That's what it started out to be. Hey, we're going to create artificial intelligence, and we're going to make it open source, and we're going to do all of these things. But when the valuation becomes $500 million or $1 billion, or $500 billion, or rather, instead of $500 million, then wait a minute, maybe we can't make make it open source, And so now, we saw OpenAI take this journey from being a dual mission space that wanted to use the money that they made from creating the artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and have a social mission. Make this equitable to everyone. Make artificial intelligence part of solving society's problems. And now we see OpenAI. It's a for-profit institution that's totally capitulated their social mission. And I think the person that you were speaking with is probably thinking of examples like that. The second thing I want to say is that dual mission enterprises have a tension. And it's not, the purpose of that dual mission enterprise is not to solve that tension. It's to manage that tension. And in managing that tension, both dual purposes are accomplished. That's through great governance. That's through hiring and training people. One of the things we're finding out, and one of the things I've found preliminarily in the research is hiring people who don't have a lot of experience in the business or in the ministry and training them to do both so that they're not stuck in one or the other. If you wanted to have a business, like microfinance business, where you give small loans to poor people so that they can, run a business. So if you hire a bunch of bankers and hire a bunch of social workers and put them together and have them run a microfinance company, at some point, either the social workers are going to win or the bankers are going to win. But if you hired theology students who graduated and business students who graduated, and none of them have any experience, and you train them on how to do the banking and also the social enterprise, they're not stuck in a particular discipline. They're learning it as they go. Right. And so it's a more symbiotic relationship because the business is more symbiotic. So I think that part of that person's reasoning is the negative examples of how people started out an enterprise with a social mission and capitulated to a financial interest. But there's nothing inherently unbiblical about having ministry tied to business.
Right.
My whole career has been to execute good biblical principles, use good business principles. Whenever I did an evangelistic series, I always had different ratios that I looked at to determine how well I ministered to people. You know, if I baptized 10 people and I spent $10,000, well, I spent $1,000 for each person.
Yeah.
Then I looked at, well, how many people were baptized through a member of the church's discipleship, their invitation? How many people were baptized through Bible workers going out into the community? How many people were baptized through the advertisements? And the more people who were baptized through the more personal means, it meant the more organically discipling the evangelistic series was. So you can use business principles to look at, you know, whether you're completing a social mission or not. So I would cheerfully disagree with the other individual that said that. Yeah.
Fair. I am curious to learn, let's take a step back from all of that. How did you get interested in both business and ministry? Like, were they always like you could see the two together, or did you start with business? Did you always know you wanted to work for the church? How did that kind of?
I started out in business. When I was converted to Adventism while I was an undergrad studying for business marketing. And so I had, it's a little bit embarrassing, but I had plans to maybe go into politics. And so you have to do public speaking in politics. So, you know, I was, a pretty good speaker. Or I had, ideas of going into business, into the marketing aspect of business. So that's where I started out. Once I had a conversion, I started immediately having a tension between business and ministry. It was there. So I finished my undergraduate degree, went into management for a corporation. Remember going to church in a city, Michigan City, Indiana, and someone who was from the seminary in Andrews came down and says, you heard me preach, you should go into ministry. The seminary is right. It's about an hour and 15 minutes from you. So I ended up going into the seminary. Finishing seminary studies and, learning the mechanics of ministry. And then there was a tug from business again. So instead of just doing an MDiv, I did a dual master's. I did an MDiv and an MBA. And then after that, I didn't go into ministry because business is still tugging on me. So I went to work for another Fortune 500 company, another corporation. And then eventually ministry tugged. I went into pastoral ministry. And throughout my pastoral ministry, creating initiatives, working with other organizations. It was just melding of business and ministry together throughout my whole career. And so once I understood what a center of influence was, I recognized that the model wasn't the problem, the execution was the problem. It's because we have good business people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church and good ministry people. But we have a new form of enterprise that we need to be able to implement it. And that's where we struggle. So it started it's just the tension of my life. I'm in my office and I'm doing my work in ministry, but I'm looking at how the markets are doing every day. And it's a tension. And I've decided that I don't need to solve the tension in my life. So therefore, I don't think that dual mission enterprises need to solve the tension. They need to manage it. And in managing it is where you get more efficient and effective.
I see. I'm curious to see, how was the person that came from the seminary when you were in Michigan City in the church, how did that convince you? So was it easy? Because the way you described it seems like it was just that someone told you and yes.
Well, what happened is that I knew that I was going into ministry at some point at that moment, because, and I was younger, well, just a couple of years younger, not much younger, maybe like 3 years younger, like it wasn't that much. I kind of felt like I was tricked in preaching for a youth day. The youth director at the church, he said, hey, we want you to do a speech for Youth Day.
Okay.
And I was trying to maybe go into politics, so yeah, do a speech. So about a couple of weeks before then, she said, it's kind of a sermon.
Just change it up on you.
It's kind of a sermon. It's a speech, but it's kind of a sermon. So, I stressed because it's told to me it's in a different vein. So I did it. I had really never done anything at the church before, and people like, where'd this come from? And it just started my journey. Wow. So I didn't leave my marketing studies and go into theology.
Right.
I finished it because that's what I was interested in. But there was this call on my life after that moment. But I was pursuing business. And I wasn't unhappy pursuing business. I wasn't like, I'm going to do that. No, I was happy doing that. And when this person came down from the seminary and said, you should probably go to the seminary, it was just an affirmation of something I needed to do. It's sometimes in your life, in order to do what you really need to do, there needs to be a clean break. And at that point in my life, I needed a clean break. I had educated myself in business to a certain level. I had worked in a Fortune 500 company for a while. I needed a clean break from business to learn what God really called me to do was ministry. And so I was educating myself in ministry, and I had a mentor that really, really taught me the nuts and bolts of personal evangelism. And then, once I went through the dual MBA and MDiv and went to ministry, there was a person who taught me the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of corporate evangelism. And then when they taught me those things in ministry, I naturally put the business skills that I had learned and experience that I had and made it uniquely my own.
Wow.
So
that's good.
So yeah,
that's good.
It was a progressive amount of providence that happened.
Yeah. So it was the extra push.
Yes, it was the extra push. I needed a clean break, at least for a moment, to be able to study ministry.
Yeah. Feel free, you don't have to answer this. You don't have to get too personal if you don't want to. Yeah. But if you're open, what was your conversion like? Like, was it?
I was probably in undergrad, first semester.
Wow.
And this guy who was a Seventh-day Adventist was going back to school. He was an older guy. And, he would sit in something like the gazebo or a space where there were couches and chairs and stuff like that. And you just begin to engage him. And, he was a nice guy, older guy, going back to school, fine, everything. So he invited me to church. And he said, church on Saturday. It seemed kind of weird to me. I was like, be down there and drink some Kool-Aid or something. Like, what's going on with that? So I agreed to go because I'm just, I was raised to be a very mannerable, nice kid. And so this older person is telling me to go to church. So I just said yes. I had no intention of going. And I remember he would say he was going to pick me up and, I was going to spend the weekend at his house. And I wasn't interested in doing that. I'm in college. I'm not a Christian. What? Yeah. So, I'm sitting in my dorm room and I'm thinking, and this guy knocks on the door. And I'm like, if I just be quiet,
he'll go away.
So I just sat there. He knocked.
Wow.
Make a long story short, he knocked. Like 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Dang.
I eventually went to the door and acted like I was just so knocked out asleep.
Yeah.
So I get my stuff. I go down there. I'm like, oh gosh, what am I doing? And I ended up enjoying the family atmosphere of the church and the family. And I started going every weekend.
Wow.
And the pastor made a call for baptism, and I was studying the Bible with them and different people. And the family, it was a very close-knit family, extended family. And I got baptized.
Wow.
And that was my conversion process.
Wow.
So I think it's important that there's stages in a young person's life that they're open. I think that young people are open in their preteen years. I think sometimes when we stop young people from getting baptized in their preteen years, when they get to into their teenage years, they're not interested There are other things in life that take precedence. I also think that at the beginning of a young person's college experience, it's another window that can be opened for them.
Yeah.
And I think that universities, not just with their programs and the things that they do, we're gonna intentionally win the students, with having people like this person who work with me, who are just themselves. They're just naturally, normally in that space.
Yeah.
And they know how to build friendships with younger people. Yeah, it was different. Yeah, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Initially. But that happens, and sometimes young people are a bit resistant to spiritual things initially, because they have a different plan about what they want to do.
Sure.
But then they understand the true benefit and the true joy of a relationship with God and being in a space where you belong. So I think that it helped me to understand that people need the right space for discipleship to happen. And going back to Centers of Influence, there are millions of people who, for a couple of generations, they've been out of the church culture, out of the religious culture. They are not affiliated. Making spiritual space in commercial enterprises, I believe, was one of the key ways that we reach that unchurched group of people, or what their official name now is, the nuns. I was, in that time, I probably was considered unchurched or nun. I had some church, but I wasn't. I was going to church. I would go to a church if there's a wedding.
Yeah.
If there's a funeral.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going every week. I didn't want to go every week. Wasn't a Bible thumping kid.
Yeah.
And I think Centers of Influence are spaces where people who are not overtly religious can find a relationship with someone that can help them to find that relationship.
And get exposed to it without it being forced on you.
Yes, that is really something that's really clear to me. Is that spirituality cannot be the front-facing agenda. It has to be something that is drawn out of a person through a relationship with an actual disciple.
Interesting.
Who is living their life, who is the Word in the flesh. It's the Word in the flesh before the Word in the book. You get to the book is important.
Yeah.
But the Word in the flesh is how discipleship happens. Jesus, he spent time. He rubbed against his disciples. He rubbed off on them. And they didn't get it for 3.5 years. And eventually they did. So.
Yeah. I'm curious, not in a way of debate, but in a way of your vision for these centers of influence. Because I can tell you're very passionate about it. How do you view the space and the place in the world with centers of influence and church? Like, do you think church should still be a thing, or should it just be abolished, or maybe changed the way it should be run?
Our churches need to be revitalized. The statistics show us that 60 to 70% of all of our churches in North America are in plateau or decline. So our churches need to be revitalized. And when they are revitalized and they're healthy, we need to plant churches out of them. Centers of influence are another space where we can plant churches out of. So they need to work dually together. There isn't an either or. There's a both and. Okay. There are people who are in the Protestant group or who are amenable to traditional church spaces. And there's small evidences to suggest that Gen Z are rejecting the megachurch spaces and are more interested in more smaller, intimate spaces where they can find community.
Interesting.
Instead of going into a huge church and being swallowed up in that and not really having an intimate space. There's indications. We would need to know a whole lot more information to be able to say that definitively.
Right.
So we need those spaces. We need traditional church spaces. We need more of them. North American Vision says that we need a church for every 25,000 people. I posit that we need a center of influence for every 100,000 people. And maybe we need to shrink that down a little bit, but initially.
Yeah.
And the General Conference, our global missions, is funding about 17 a year globally. So the franchise model is to make centers of influence scalable. Now, I'm thinking about doing a gym, pie in the sky, maybe a hedge fund, but there are other businesses that you can franchise.
Yeah.
The franchising is so that you can have in the franchise contract, this is the dual mission. This is the enterprise commercial mission. This is the social mission. And so if a particular franchisee doesn't prioritize both, you just remove the franchise. You can still have a gym, but you have to rebuild it. So that's what I believe that the research is showing initially, that we need a governance system that allows, it's not really plausible for one pastor to be a great business person, a great evangelist, a great relationship builder with no system at all. That's not a strategy, that's a hope.
It's hope.
And hope is not a good strategy for success. And so what the franchise model does is inculcated into the franchise contract is this dual mission and ways in which to make sure that dual mission is accomplished.
Right. That's good. That's good. I'm curious, what is something, as since you grew up outside of the church a little bit, and not experiencing all the traditions all the time from the jump, what is something that you think most people that aren't in the church have a misconception of?
Well, let me talk about this from my culture.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a Black American. There's people from Caribbean, there's people from Africa. I'm Black American. Our experiences, transatlantic slave trade, the whole thing. We developed a church culture. And some of the misconceptions in my community about church culture is that the church is pulling money out of the community and not putting money back in. And sometimes that's the thinking, even outside of my community, is that, man, the church is collecting all this money. What are they doing with it? And there's this 1% of church leaders and pastors who are not being responsible with the money and the power that they have. So that's a misconception, because only about 27% of people who attend church ever give anything to the church. So if you have a church of 100 people, only 27 people are actually giving. The other 73 people are coming, attending, hearing, and they're not participating as far as giving at all. So that's one of the misconceptions that people have who are not in the church, is that the church is taking money from the community. It's asking for donations, but it's not returning to the community a commensurate thing. And an appendage of that is that the church is one of the best, in my opinion, the best social service agency in any community.
Okay.
For example, when I pastored in Birmingham, people knew where the church was. They knew where my office was. A guy could be on a bike. He could knock on my window. Hey, Pastor, I need some food. That's it. I would ask him one question. How many people in your family? Oh, Pastor, it's 4 of us. And my wife and, my 2 kids.
Yeah.
So I would go down to the community service space where we had it. And, of course, the community service folks knew I didn't know how to put a box together. So they would have some boxes of stuff already together. I would get one of the boxes, make sure it had enough food for 4 people for a week. And then give the box to the guy. Say, hey, look, man, I could put the box in my car and I could, drive you home. We could put the bike. We could figure that out. He said, no, Pastor, I got that. So he just rode up to the church, needed a box of food. Wow. He just told me how many people he had. He got the box. He was gone. Now, had he gone to the government office to apply for EBT, he would have had to have his Social Security card, his birth certificate. He would have had to have a check stub or some form of income, give us an address. He would have had to go through an application process. He wouldn't have got the EBT SNAP benefits at that point. He would have gotten them 30 days later, or 45 days, or he would have got a letter saying, hey, more information. So the church is one of the most efficient and effective social service agencies because we are able to give people what they need and keep their dignity intact. And so there's a misconception about how much money the church is taking in. And there's also a misconception about how much ministry the church actually does in any community. We do a lot. We do a lot.
I will say I think it's important to recognize that some do more than others.
Yes.
And a lot of people can have a conception, maybe it's not even a misconception, just a conception of a church, of one church one way, and think that that's all church.
As human beings, we compartmentalize things in order to organize them in our minds. Yes.
It's true. But that's the way that it should be done. And the way that most, maybe not most. Is that most?
A lot of churches, collectively, I would say. I don't want to speak individually because there are individual church leaders that have not lived up to their mandate as leaders. There are individual churches that have not lived up to their mandate as churches. There is a lot of church hurt that's out there, a lot of reasoning for the decline in church attendance and church affiliation is church hurt by, I think, systems of church that are not biblical. I don't know if the megachurch model was ever a biblical model. And that is a model that has been fed to the church and to greater society for the last 30 years. Not sure. And when you give a few people a lot of power over a large group of people, it's an environment for corruption. And I think that has something to do with it. There has been a multiplicity of church scandals and all different sectors of organized religion, and that has also done a lot to discourage people. But having said that, the fact remains, collectively and in aggregate, the church does a lot for the community. So I would say to people in my community, hey, collectively, we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot. But it's okay for us to be held accountable for the leadership that we give and for the ministry we give. There's nothing wrong with being held for the community holding us accountable.
That's true.
And anyone who doesn't want to be held accountable, I don't want to be under their leadership. I'm not interested in affiliating with people who don't want to be held accountable. Particularly by the people you serve. So.
That's true. And the people that actually will either reap the benefits
or reap be the people who the toxicity spills out on. We can do a lot more to contain the toxicity that gets spewed. But we have to be balanced. And the balance is that there's a lot of good work going on in churches now. There's a lot of good work. A lot of good community work. And we need to acknowledge that. While we acknowledge that no institution is perfect and there's some things we need to clean up, and that takes everybody in leadership working to make sure that we create a safe space for people. And let people know when we got it wrong.
That's true. I want to ask if this is something you've researched or not, why, or something you've experienced with the people that you've talked to or in the North American division. Why do you think a lot of the young people in the church, whether they've been in the church or not, or whether they are just completely against the church, why do you think that they're either leaving or just closed-minded and not open to it?
I wouldn't say that I understand that fully. But in my own pastoral ministry, and anecdotally, and what I do at the Evangelism Institute is I believe that there are factors, and here's the factors that I see. Number one is that we have entertained our young people, but we have not discipled them. Wow. Sometimes we as parents or grandparents believe because you sent, your grandchild to camp, because you sent them to church school, because you've involved them in church activities, that's discipleship. Yeah. That's not discipleship. That's sending them to a program, an event, or a service. Yeah. And so discipleship is intentional. So that's the first thing, is that we have not intentionally discipled our young people. The second is I no longer believe that we should worship separately. I no longer believe that this idea that we have to have adult ministries and youth ministries, which requires both groups to worship separately. If young people are going to be incorporated into the church and they're going to be given leadership and learn and taught how to be leaders, they need to do that in the context of the whole church. And the idea of separating them because they have specific needs, there may be times for that. There may be, it's like there are men conferences and women conferences. Yes, it could be youth and young adult conferences. That's fine. But each Sabbath, we should worship as a community. Our young people should learn how to lead in the congregation of the whole community. Not just where they can lead on youth day. They should be able to lead on a regular Sabbath. And that discipleship requires creating a leadership pipeline. One of the things I was really proud of in ministry was there was a couple of young men, several young men rather, that I was able to mentor. And we could talk about the ones in ministry and what they're doing now, but I really want to talk about the couple of young men that I was able to mentor, that they were able to mentor a larger group of young people. And so at the close of my ministry, toward the last couple of years, after the pandemic, we're trying to come back, we're trying to reestablish, I would sit in church, and those two young men would run the church with those other young people, and they would run most aspects of the service. And they would do great. And none of the young people would even come to me and ask me a question or anything, because they went to the other young people that I trained to do that. Wow. So if for some reason everybody 30 and above was just whisked away, they would be able to have church and run their church and understood how it worked. And most of the great spiritual movements were done by people who were really young, like the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We don't need to wait and give the church to our young people when they get to be a certain age. We need to give it to them now. We need to give it to them now. So why they're not? I think it's because we are not creating. We're trying to separate young people from adults, and we're trying to entertain them, not disciple them. Yeah. So that's what I found in my ministry, and I think the research kind of begins to say something of that nature. Yeah.
Interesting. It's very good points. Very good points. I've definitely experienced that in, working at summer camps, working at whatever. That's lots of entertaining, but no actual substance to keep them. Once they're not entertained anymore, where do they go?
We can't entertain them as well as society can entertain them. We're not even, we're nowhere, we are no way, we are not in any way as good as society is in entertaining them.
That's true. And I guess that's teaching them to look for that entertainment in a way. That was not our mission. Yeah. Our mission was to disciple them. And part of discipleship is getting them involved and helping them to sense that the organization and the institution belongs to them. Because a lot of our young people don't think the church belongs to them. They think it belongs to their parents and their grandparents. And they're just there, occupying space. And as more mature Christians, we need to be more humble
and begin to give the church over to them.
Yeah.
It requires you to have a secure sense of yourself, and also requires you to have a healthy sense of your non-importance, and that you can and will be replaced. But you can continue to serve and continue to have an impact by pouring into somebody else.
That's big.
My boss told me when he asked me to come, he said, if you stay where you are, you can do amazing things there, but you'll only affect that space. If you come here, you can replicate and multiply yourself. And how effective could a church be if 100 of you were out there instead of just you? And that is the mission of those of us who are more mature in the faith, is to recreate ourselves in the next generation of people. If the young people in this church realize and recognize it was their church, it's their church now.
Yeah.
It is the students on this campus church now, not when they graduate and get married it's their church now. And we should give it to them now. And we should train them and equip them now. And we as more mature adults, we should be excited about that prospect and trying to figure out whatever we could do to give that to them. So I would say to anyone that's in a church now and you've got 5 young people and you've got 20 adults, that you need to center and focus and mentor and disciple those 5 young people and put them in positions of authority and trust with Christ-centered leadership, and make sure those young people have Christ-centered leadership and not push them too far, too fast, but give them an opportunity to say, this is my church. And I'm involved and I'm responsible and I have a say. I would also say to young people, there are people in the church who are fighting for you to have a space. But you have to show up. You can't complain that older people don't want to spend money to minister to you when you don't show up, when you don't serve, when you don't sacrifice. It discourages people from investing in people who don't show up, who don't serve, who don't sacrifice. So as a pastor, I wanted oftentimes to do things for our young people, but you wouldn't show up to the board meeting or the business meeting to give your opinion. And so the members were like, well, Pastor, where are they?
This is true.
Where they at?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and they got me on that one.
Yeah.
So there is a dual responsibility. It's a responsibility for people who are mature in the church to pass the church on, to equip and to train and invest and disciple. It's also
accountability goes
accountability.
Both ways.
Young people, you got to show up.
Yeah.
You know, you want if it's your day to run church, you got to show up and run it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get behind. If you're the audiovisual person, you got to be behind that camera. You got to be controlling. You got to be working things out. The older people of the church will bless young people if they see a commensurate level of commitment.
Yeah.
You know.
It's big. It's big. I will say, I think it's important to know and to have a place in church, and to know that that place isn't just on the pew, just sitting there, but that's, you have to show up. So yeah, accountability goes both ways. Is there a book that you've read that has maybe helped you in your mentality towards either business or ministry, or just a book that has changed your perspective in your life in a way, or that you would recommend?
I'm reading a book now by Karen Howe.
Okay.
It's about the experience of OpenAI. And through the book, it talks about Sam Altman's, the people in his life who mentored him. All the way back from college, all the way up till now. It talks about the process of OpenAI. That book is instructive for Seventh-day Adventist laypersons or pastors who want to start a center of influence.
Okay.
It's instructive because it's a story about how you can start out with great intentions and you move those intentions not intentionally,
Yeah.
but the environment. And then not understanding your own proclivities to move away from the mission based upon the external circumstances. Yeah, it's a business book,
That's good.
but it can teach you a lot of stuff about ministry. I have actually devoured that book, and
Wow.
it has been such a blessing.
Okay.
Such a blessing. It's good for leaders, particularly Seventh-day Adventists who want to operate in dual mission spaces. I think it's a good book.
Okay. Oh, I'll put it down on my list of books to
Yes.
read. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. I
enjoyed being here.
Thank you. I learned a lot. And perspectives have been changed. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you liked this episode and you want to support this podcast, please like the video, subscribe so you can see more, and comment so we know what you think. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.